Tales from my D&D campaign.
Previously, they need to stop getting sidetracked and get those spoons to Vistria, feeding thousands of starving people and making over 50,000 gold out of the deal. But Little One's like, before we do that, I want to gather some dragon scales to make my new armor. You want to fight a dragon? Nah, we shouldn't have to fight a dragon. We may have to fight a giant army of Diluvians. My mother was a bronze dragon. She raised me in a cave a day and a half behind the border of the Diluvian-controlled Peace Bond area. If they are this close and haven't spotted us, they may not be able to. Maybe their vision is more limited than we thought. This is the back entrance. Mum could squeeze through here in human form, but round the corner is a larger cavern leading to an underwater tunnel. Guys? There's like some guy standing here. The figure is facing away from you, towards the aquatic entrance to the cavern, in head-to-toe black plate. The helm kind of makes him look like a dragonborn, though he could just be a bulky guy with an intimidating demonic or draconic-shaped helmet. But his eyes are just glowing red points. Who would be standing in my cave? Who are you? What are you doing here? It's my cave. What are you doing here? My Lord Ajna sent me to deliver a message to Lady Visaris. Have I heard of this Ajna guy? No, but it does sound like it might be a dragon name. How did you get here? I walked. He walked? From where? From the next continent over. He walked across the ocean? I'm guessing under. Long, long ago, the dragons conquered this world's other two continents, fighting off giants, Formians, and many other monsters. Having each staked out their own territory, they exercised an immense act of magic and will, creating a new people known as the Dragonborn to serve and to worship them. Medium-sized humanoids made in the dragon's own image. With servants to add to their treasure hoards and to serve their other needs, the dragons grew fat and lazy, and about 470 years ago the Dragonborn rose up and liberated the continent of Novendil, destroying the Red Dragon Lord Archithrax, and they created their own society, free of their godlike oppressors. But about 50 years ago, the Blue Dragon Lord Perigos returned to Novendil, leading a small army of undead Dragonborn. These Death Knights helped to exterminate their own kind, and very few Dragonborn survived, crossing the Eastern Sea on rafts to take refuge in the Elven lands. This, then, was one of those Death Knights, a skeletal Dragonborn, with intellect and self-awareness intact, but still bound to obey his master, even after being used as a tool of genocide against his own kind. Where is Lady Visaris? She's dead. She died years ago. That may explain why she has not returned in the many months I have stood here. You've been standing there for months. Well, yeah, he's undead. If he's undead, we should destroy him. He has decent-looking loot. Should be worth a couple K. I am the son of Lady Visaris. Can you give me the message, since she's no longer alive? The message was merely an invitation to meet with my lord, and my orders, if she is not here, are to wait for her and to guard her lair. You are in her lair. Well, she's dead, so it's really my lair now, and you would be waiting for her forever. My orders contain no clause for this contingency. I will defend the lady's lair, and when you are dead, I will stand here forever if that is my fate. It is a suitable penance for me, and preferable to my usual duties. It's not much of a penance if you find it preferable. You don't sound like you want to fight. Let us get what we came for and leave, and we will come back at a later time and discuss plans for dealing with your lord. Your offer is talk? Maybe. Later, I will protect the lady's hoard, as a proper Dragonborn. And it casts obscuring mist, blocking all sight around it. Damn, getting involved with the dragon sounded interesting. I wonder what they'd do about me. Eat you? I don't know. He is half dragon. Are they half cannibal? And Angel gets off a readied shot from her brand new crossbow of force, dealing 5 damage before he disappears into a cloud of mist. And Raven uses one of his quick infusions to turn Black's flail into a holy weapon, and nothing happens for a round. Hey, holy my weapon while you're at it. Okay, but I can only do this in combat a few times a day. I'll fire blindly into the fog. Might get lucky. And she makes her to hit and miss chance rolls, but hits nothing, while Little One in Black wait, since charging blindly into the cloud seemed like a dumb idea. They can hear faint sounds of spellcasting coming out of the cloud, but they don't really have any area of effect spells with which to force him out. 3 rounds later, they're starting to question their strategy, when the Death Knight moves to the edge of the cloud, raises an armored fist, and blasts Draven with 3 scorching rays for about 40 damage. Holy fire! Black, can you do your instant heal thing? Do you have any left? Sure, I have 2 close wounds memorized. I'll heal you for 8. And now that the enemy has given away his position, Draven shoots him dead on before retreating around the corner, trying to avoid being murdered by a second casting of Scorching Ray. He hits despite a displacement effect from the undead Dragonborn's armor, but Draven rolls the minimum on his physical damage, and the Death Knight resists all the fire from his weapon crystal, as well as the cold damage from the crystal quiver, which Draven has now incorporated into his increasingly complex magic punk crossbow. The heroes can't run or charge because of their fatigue debuff, but Little One moves up and bone crushers for solid damage, and Black tries his best, though he's less fortunate on the 50% miss chance. Angel keeps firing her crossbow, adding a little damage here and there, bringing the Death Knight below half health already, but the armored skeleton hits Little One with his oversized flanged mace, using the Duskblade ability to channel a vampiric touch through the blow, granting himself some temporary hit points before he ducks back into the obscuring mist. And this time the 2 warriors chase him into the mist, but they can only see 5 feet ahead of them in the cloud, and they run into these creepy walls. Where did all these bones come from? I don't know. You saw the cave. Most of this area was bare rock, and even the sandy part by the water couldn't possibly hold this many skeletons. It must be conjured rather than animated. The walls are not that strong. Both Black and Little One can smash through a couple squares of this bone wall in one turn, but it quickly becomes apparent that the Death Knight has built up a tiny maze within the fog which slows them down significantly, and which it can use to fight them in choke points, so they can't both get at him at the same time. Nevertheless, they keep landing a few hits past all his miss chances, but soon his armor's displacement effect wears off, and he's running out of vampiric touch castings to absorb their damage. Knowing he can no longer stand toe-to-toe with them, the Death Knight changes tactics, charging out of the cloud to get at the squishier ranged characters. He wanted to finish off Draven, who he'd injured earlier, but the Artificer was out of his charge range, so he tried to strike at Angel instead, eating another of her low-damage but reliable force bolts in the process. Then Black bursts out of the mist and strikes the Death Knight with his flail, with a jarring blow that shatters his spine within the armor, causing him to crumple to the ground, and he turns to look up at the priest, gazing at his emblazoned pauldrons. It is only right that I meet justice at the hands of a champion of Bahamut. Then the glowing eyes fade away. Huh? Make a knowledge religion check. Draven identifies the Death Knight's weapon as a +2 mithril ghost touch heavy mace with the ability to illuminate the area around it, and whenever it scores a critical hit, allies within 10 feet gain 4 temporary hit points. By the way, because it is a bludgeoning weapon, which relies on mass and momentum to inflict damage, and because it is made of mithril, a metal that is much lighter than steel, this mace is physically about 30% larger than a normal mace with the same stats. It looks massive. Ghost Touch would allow the weapon to be wielded by an incorporeal creature, like a ghost, but the Death Knight didn't need that. He was quite solid. This was really the kind of weapon you would expect to be wielded by a paladin, or someone who hunts undead. But Black notices a symbol on the bottom of the handle, a stylized claw, and recalls that the main deity worshipped by the freed Dragonborn slaves had been the Platinum Dragon, Bahamut, or as he would call her, Sirius. So this guy was like a fallen paladin of Sirius. He did talk about deserving penance. You can even see how the head of the flanged mace itself looks similar to the rook symbol used in this part of the world. So Little One gathers molted brass dragon scales from a pile in the corner, enough to forge himself a very personally meaningful suit of armor at a later date. And here they are, fatigued, a little low on magic after healing their battle damage. They've done what they came to do, snuck past the Diluvian forces, and fought a freaky lore encounter. The cave should be a fairly safe place to rest, but they feel they've really stirred up the hornet's nest, and that getting back to Bankton will be a lot harder than it was to get here. And when they do get back, they're just going to teleport 1,000-some miles to Vistria anyway. The only thing in Bankton that they care about right now is... what about Daggerface? The good one. Oh, yeah. Why didn't we plan on teleporting from here in the first place? Because if we set up the round-trip thing using 2 eyes, we don't want to return here to enemy-controlled territory where our site could be discovered and either wrecked so that we can't come back without using another Eldritch Eye, or worse, it could be guarded and they'd be ready to ambush us on arrival. But going back for him is going to be pretty dangerous. So we just leave him there without him knowing what happened to us? I can cast Sending tomorrow, at least let him know what happened. He's in a big city. It's about as safe as anywhere. I guess Daggerface doesn't add that much to our fighting capability. I guess. Leaving him behind sucks, though. But they decide teleporting now does seem like the best thing. And Draven sets up the ritual anyway, just in case they do want to return in the next few weeks, because if they take the second eye with them, it'll just get wasted, drained by contact with the titanic energies of the astral plane. And if they try and hide it in the cave, there's always a chance someone could discover it and use it for nefarious purposes. If it's part of the ritual, then someone could wreck their ritual and they can't come back that way, but no one can use the eye for anything else at that point. So where in Vistria do you want to teleport to, exactly? What are some destinations I would know that would make sense? Other than your home and your in-laws' mansion? In-laws? Mansion? You could head to the capital, Castle, but the most logical other place would be New Vanover, one of the largest cities and also the major city nearest to your home. Not only does it have every amenity you could hope for, including banks and or jewelers who could cash out your certified gems, the Corso has a trade office there, so you can get in touch with Elena, the dwarf who has arranged the sale of the spoons to the crown. It also has the Basilica, the headquarters of the Hand of Sirius. Their courtyard would be a pretty good place to appear, since it has very little through traffic and is walled off to some degree, so it's fairly private. Unless you want to use your teleport to show off, there are lots of public squares and such where you could appear. I think it's better to be discreet. What's the Hand of Sirius? It's an organization devoted to justice, to protecting Vistria and all humanity from external threats. Just humanity? No comment. The Hand of Sirius is something like the CIA in America. Everyone knows there's a CIA, that it exists. Anyone can find their headquarters in Langley. It's a big building. But the actual things that they do are still secret. I work there too. Black was assigned to protect me. I think the courtyard of the Basilica sounds good. I'm not in that big a hurry to see my in-laws. In-laws? Yes, I'm married. We already covered that. Little one gives one last look to his childhood home, then Draven casts the spell. A minute of verbal and somatic components, expending the strange magic of the eye of an Umber Hulk. The spell completes, and they all feel stretched for an instant as the cave, the whole world, fades around them, and it feels like they touch the stars. And when the world fades back in around them, they are in another country, half a continent away, next time, on Tales from My D&D Campaign.